from the Teacher's Treasure Chest, and I am so excited you are joining us today. So, with all the things that have changed in our world in 2020, the best way to describe it is just, you have to roll with the punches. You've heard me say that before with teaching. Teaching is like a roller coaster. Everything is always so challenging, right? And for me, what gives me so much joy and passion is to help you and your students the best way I can. And the one thing that I am pretty good at is teaching children who struggle. I've made it my life's work. With teaching, I always looked for the ones that everyone said you couldn't help them. That's the kid I wanted to work with. The ones that they said, sit on the computer, put them on the computer, they won't learn. Those are the kids I wanted to work with. So that's how I became so invested in intervention. As someone who's taught all over this country and taught with hundreds and hundreds of students, I truly love helping the ones that they say we can't help. But what is the secret formula to that? How do you take a child who you get in the 4th grade who doesn't know the letters in their name? And before you say, Ashley, that doesn't happen, it did happen to me. Back in 2017, I had a student in my class that didn't know the letters in their name, and I taught the 4th grade. I was told the student would never learn to read. I was told the student couldn't learn to read. And that in itself broke my heart because educators had given up on this child. Now, what did it do for me? It lit something inside of me that said, you know what? This child will learn to read. This child will know the letters in his name. And I became so dedicated to taking everything I'd ever used with any other student, putting it together, and making it work for this child. And I know you can do the same thing. You're going to have kids in your class that are 1, 2, 3 grade levels behind. That's our unfortunate reality. With COVID, it's getting the scale is getting even broader. Students are getting further and further behind because of how different teaching is. So, what do? How do you help those kids? You can still help them. Everyone has the potential to learn to read. It takes a special person just like you to help them, though. I can't show up in your classroom and help them, but I can motivate you to give them the tools that they need to help them be successful. Now, what I wanted to talk to you about today is that you're either on Christmas break or Christmas break is like hours away. And what I challenge you to do is to take care of yourself this Christmas break. You've worked hard this year. This year has given us challenges like no other year before. We've had to learn and grow in ways that we never even knew possible. If you would have told me at this point last year that we would be doing lessons by Zoom and Google Classroom for 100% of our instruction, I would have been like, okay, is this an episode of the Jetsons, No, we didn't think that this is where we'd be, but this is where we are. So I want you to take care of yourself. You've worked hard. You deserve the break. While you're taking care of yourself, I want you to start to think about what you will change in January. We have still half a school year left. Students can still be helped. And my biggest thing is that I want you to be able to have the tools that you need to help them. Now, if you're not a member of our Facebook group, this is a great place for you to come and get resources. I have tons of free files in this group for you. So I'm going to leave a link in the comments for you to go check out our Facebook group. If you somehow can't find it, it's the Teacher's Treasure Chest, all things teaching. So it's for any teacher. And the reason that I have this open to all grade levels is because number one, I don't know about you, but I change grade levels all the time. Number two, I don't always know how to help a student on a 6th grade level. What does that look like? So I want you to have the resources that you need to help them. Now, in the Facebook group, there's tons of free files you can get to download and help your kids. The other resource that we have is our email list. And in our email list, we send out weekly files for you, tips, resources, and there's always something free for you. I don't want to just sell you things. I want you to get things for free, because you know what? I spent hundreds of dollars as a teacher all the time, thousands of dollars even. And, I'm not like every other person who sells my teaching resources. I don't just want to sell to you. I want you to get things for free that can help you. So that's the purpose of this chat today. I'm going to leave you a link. What you'll do is you'll click the link and you'll get a folder, a Google Drive folder with tons of free resources in it to help you and your students. Now, when you go back in January, I want you to remember that I'm here for you. I want to help you with your students who struggle. So, I thought I had to sneeze, but apparently I don't. How does that look like? What I'm encouraging teachers to do and what I'm doing is that I'm meeting with my students one-on-one via Zoom, and I'm using Google Forms to assess them at first, because you guys know I'm big about assessment. I'm big about assessment in a way where we're using useful assessment. What I'm doing is taking my reading assessments that I have in my TPT store and I'm converting them into Google Forms. So those should be done probably before Christmas break is over, hopefully. And what I want you to do is use those forms to see where they're at. What skill do they have a gap in? And before you say comprehension, I want you to stop and think, because the biggest thing teachers and parents tell me that their kids struggle with is comprehension. A lot of times, children don't really struggle with comprehension. There is a gap before the comprehension skill. So what I'm saying is that if they're reading the words on the page, if students are reading the cat sat on the tack, oh, the cat sat on the tack, and they have no idea what they read, my first piece of advice for you is going to be go back and teach self-monitoring. Do you know in the county I live in that teaching self-monitoring is something that 4 or 5 years ago we weren't doing? I hope and pray they are now. But this is a big skill. If you start teaching your kindergarten and first grade students to think while they're reading, it's very, very easy to do. You model it for them. You tell them when they make mistakes, instead of fixing the mistake, instead of saying, no, Johnny. And this goes for parents. When students are reading to you, don't just say, no, that's the word dog. No, say to your student, what does that say? What is the beginning sound of that word? Can you sound that word out? Does that make sense? Because if you just fix the mistake for them, they're not learning how to self-monitor. They're not learning how to think while they're reading. And this is one of the biggest gaps I see in students all over, is that they don't think while they're reading. Now, I have my own opinion on why I think it is. Some I think is lack of instruction on it. And number two, I think that just in general, our students are learning to not be thinkers, creative thinkers anymore, because they're doing this all day or this all day, Blah, 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 blah. So we have to really work on showing our kids what that looks like. Self-monitoring is the biggest thing, right? So I've taught my kids a lesson on self-monitoring. I feel like my kids are getting it, but it doesn't stop there. You are continuously teaching self-monitoring to your students. The next step that you need to do, friends, is that you need to determine if there's a phonics deficiency. Do the students know how to decode and read all of the phonics continuum up to their grade level? Are the students showing any gaps phonetically? How do you test the students to find that out? Who has hours and hours to spend? Well, that's where I come in. I can help you with that. I have created a very basic and simple phonics assessment to help you determine if there is a gap with your students in phonics. Now, my favorite email that I get is, I teach 4th grade, I don't teach phonics. Yeah, you do. Greek and Latin roots, that's part of phonics. Okay, what are they missing, friends? What are they missing? Because it's not necessarily always going to be comprehension. There's something preventing them from understanding what they're reading. Either they don't know how to decode the words that are on their grade level, they aren't thinking while reading, or here's the third one, they're not reading fluently. They're not reading like they speak. Okay, if you can go through the steps of those 3 problems and determine whether or not if the students are doing all of those three things, we need to chat, okay? And still not understanding what they're reading. Because yes, the comprehension is in depth, and yes, there can be deficiencies in comprehension, but a lot of times we overlook those three things and go straight to reteaching main idea over and over and over, and they still don't get it. It's not that they don't get main idea, they don't know what they're reading. Sorry, I'll calm it down. They don't know what they're reading, friends. That is the biggest step that I see teachers skip. When I go in and work with a teacher, I say, well, have you tested, I just listened to them read. They couldn't read the long vowel words right there. So if there's a phonics deficiency, if they cannot decode those words, then surely they're not going to understand what they're reading. Okay? But 3 steps that we need to do. Check for self-monitoring. Are they thinking while reading? Are they catching their mistakes? Are they self-correcting? So parents, if you hear your child read incorrectly and you hear them correct themselves, that is a win. That is what you want to hear. If you hear them read the word incorrectly and they keep going, and then you go back and you tell them what the word is, we're not going to teach them how to self-monitor or how to think while reading by doing that. Walk through the process with them, okay? Self-monitoring, assessment. Are they decoding their words? Do they have any kind of deficiencies phonetically? Do they understand the phonics continuum, okay? And then third, fluency. Are they reading fluently? Okay, we know as teachers, we get so wrapped up in like the frustration of I've taught this lesson and they're just not getting it, that sometimes it's easy to forget like the basic steps, right? So let's go back to the basics this January. Let's check and see where our kids are at and how we can help them. But how do we do that virtually? My friends, I got it for you. Google Drive. You're going to get the Google Drive folder with the phonics assessments. So all you have to do is sign up below, and you will get your Google Drive assessments to help your students, to help you test your students virtually. Sorry. As much as I get on camera, sometimes I still mess up, and sometimes I just get so passionate about what I'm saying because I want to see all of our kids be successful. I want to see us just flourish and, have kids love school again. That's another Facebook Live topic. I'd love to chat with you about that love of learning, but I'd really, really just want to know and walk alongside of you and help you with your students who are struggling. I don't want you to feel defeated. You've done so much work this year, and I'm still here for you. I'm not going anywhere. My little corner of the internet, it's my happy place. It's my hobby. People say, what do you do for a hobby? I talk to teachers. I talk to teachers online. I know it sounds weird, but that's me. That's my hobby. You are my hobby. Helping you is my hobby, okay? So, 3 things. Self-monitoring. What is their phonics deficiency? Do they have a phonics deficiency? And are they reading fluently? All right, friends. We are going to get through this together. I can promise you that. So it's Monday before Christmas. I'm not going to take up all of your time today, but I do want to chat with you about a special place where you can come and find all of the things reading intervention. It doesn't cost you anything, so make sure you sign up below. I'm going to leave a few of the topics that we talk about are going to flash up on the screen right now and let you guys see, like, we are going to go through all of the things that will help you in intervention. And again, it's a community for you. It's a resource for you. It's just a tool. There is no secret formula to intervention, and anyone that tries to sell you that truly hasn't been in the classroom long enough, because you know what, kids, every student is different. And what we have to do is we have to come together as a community, as educators, and figure out how to help the student that's right in front of us. What have other people tried and done, and what has worked and what has not worked? I can tell you that I will never forget some of my most struggling students who we have worked so hard to get them where they are. It's not just a year-long process with me. It's a forever process. And the biggest thing that we need to do is set aside the time to invest in the lives of the students, because if you're not going to do it, I want you to ask yourself this: if I don't help this student, who will? And when I had that fourth grade student who didn't know the letters in their name, I had to ask myself every day, if I don't help this child, who will? Because he made it to the fourth grade without knowing the letters in his name. I still it gives me the chills when I think about him. But that's a piece of my heart. That's a story that's very special to me. And I'm sure all about how I helped him inside this community. So I am so glad you joined us today. I can't wait to hear how your students are doing. And like I said, click below to get your free Google Drive folder to help you. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you later. Bye. Oh, Merry Christmas.